A very warm welcome to all our listeners around the world. You're welcome to the TOKUNBO Fernandez show, the show that promotes the true life stories and the success stories of Africans and Caribbeans around the world. So if there's a product or initiative you want to share, feel free to give us a call on 0788 280 9005. That's 0788 280 9005. Or why not visit our website at www.tonyfernandez.co.uk. It's all about promoting the true life stories of Africans and Caribbeans doing great things around the world. So why not share our video, subscribe to our channel, and watch this space as we have some amazing guests lined up in the next 3 to 4 months, making our place your place. This is a platform for Africans and Caribbeans, your community, your voices, and all about sharing the true life stories of great ambassadors. We have an amazing guest in the studio today. He's been around for quite a while, a great community ambassador, 3 times World Martial Arts champion as well, Black British celebrity. He's featured in so many films like Pirates of the Caribbean, Dark Knight, and he has his fingers in so many pies, doing great things around the world. So it's a pleasure to meet after such a long time, Mr. Winston Judge Ellis. Welcome to the TOKUNBO Fernandez show. How are you today?
Hey, Tony. Thank you for having me on your show. It's been a pleasure. Always a pleasure to see you, my brother. Always a pleasure.
You're looking very well, and I know you're very, very busy doing great things. But for the benefit of all our listeners around the world, can you tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and the things you're most passionate about in life?
Wow. Okay, that's a long story. That's a long story. Well, as you said, as you did that magnificent introduction that you gave for me, that was just that was fantastic. Thank you. I am a 3-time world champion martial artist. I am a father of 2. I am a grandfather of 3. I worked in a number of films, like you said, Batman with Heath Ledger. Just the latest James Bond movie I've just finished. I finished shooting with Daniel Craig. I was in Pirates of the Caribbean. I've got an honorary doctorate given to me through Birmingham University, so I'm very proud of that. Just been inducted into the Hall of Fame, HBO Hall of Fame, with the martial arts fight action. So yeah, there's been a number of achievements over the years and a number of charities that I'm involved with. But I think the things that's closest to my heart is working with young people. I love working with young people, and so I'm creating that platform for the future, our future generation. And so one of the things that I do within my company, because I own a company called Razor Edge Film Productions, and right now I'm doing a feature-length documentary with Eddie Hall, the world's strongest man, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. So we've been filming that for just over a year now. Because of lockdown, it got stopped, but we're hoping to finish it in June, and that should be released in October of this year. So I'm looking forward to having that. And my first executive producer role on such a huge project as well. So yes, I'm slipping my hands in a few different pies, and then after that, I hope to direct my first feature film as a director. So moving right across the board.
That's so beautiful. We're always so proud about the work, the great initiatives you're doing.
Thank you.
And the last time we met in person was when you spoke at my Black History celebrations event at
That's
the House
right.
of Parliament,
At the Houses of Parliament. That was a very proud moment for me. I mean, to be able to speak at the Houses of Parliament, that was a very, very proud moment for me. Because my mom, I think my mother thought I was becoming an MP at that point, maybe even the Prime Minister. When I said to her, I'm going to the Houses of Parliament, she was like, oh, hallelujah. She was praying.
Fantastic, So our show is all about inspirational stories of
yes.
True life achievers who are role models, who make an impact in many communities around the world. And I'm sure our listeners are dying to know a bit about how and when that whole journey began that led to moments to become who you are today.
It's a strange one, because the thing about it is I was as a young man, I was always into the martial arts. And I studied the martial arts for many, many years, from the age of 12 years old until now I'm 56. I'm still studying my martial arts, still practicing. And it became about, for me, the change, the transition, and whereby it came to a point whereby I realized that this has now become not just a way of my life, it's my destiny, as you might call it. Because martial arts teaches you discipline. It teaches you the self-confidence and teaches you focus. And the discipline is what I needed as a young man, because I suffered with dyslexia. So when I was in this classroom, I was always trying to create problems because I couldn't keep up with the rest of the kids in the classroom in reading what was on the blackboard or keeping up with what was in the books. So with dyslexia, it wasn't diagnosed back then as dyslexia because they just thought you were slow, you know? So they used to kick you out of the classroom and whatever. When I started studying martial arts, it gave me focus, it gave me discipline, it gave me direction. So I was able to turn around and focus on things better and discipline myself to learn and get into that pattern of learning through the martial arts. And everything changed for me, I think, when I was in my early 30s. And after winning the championships and my son had been born, and I was thinking, I can't keep fighting in the martial arts. I have to find something to take me on that next level. Yeah. And God must have heard my prayers that night. And I was on the beach in Greece, and I was doing my martial arts. It was very late because that's what I use my martial arts to think, and like my meditation time. And there was no one else around. And all of a sudden, this gentleman came across from nowhere from this hotel. His name was Simon Young. I'll never forget him as long as I live. And he came across and he was like, my boss has been watching you from the hotel and he wants to meet you. And I was like, okay, why would he want to meet? Who's your boss? And he goes, just come. And I went across to the hotel, and it was Philip Coe and Jackie Chan. These guys were big heroes of mine in the martial arts movie industry, you know? And they're there location shooting for a movie. And I was in awe because I couldn't believe I'm sitting here with two of my big heroes in the martial arts film industry. And they're offering me a role in a movie in Hong Kong. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. I'm a guy from Reading. I'm a young kid from Reading. You know, who's going to believe this story? So I remember I went home. I never told my parents. I never told my brothers. I never told any of my friends because I didn't believe it. And then 6 weeks later, I had a letter came through the post. I opened the letter, and it was a plane ticket, first class to Hong Kong, to go and shoot my first picture. And I was nervous. And it was literally a week before I flew out. I actually told everybody that I was going to Hong Kong, and still no one believed. I was saying, I'm going to Hong Kong to make a movie with Jackie Chan and all these people. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, sure, right, okay, Winston. You know what I mean? But I remember when I first landed in Hong Kong, it was just an amazing feeling because it was an attack on all your senses, you know, on the smell, the sight, the sound, because it's such a noisy place. It was the colors and the food. It was just amazing. And as it turned out, I ended up spending 10 years of my life in Hong Kong in the end.
Wow.
So it was a journey. It was a massive journey. Yeah, I ended up living in Hong Kong for 10 years. I came back to England periodically, but eventually I ended up moving to Hong Kong. I spent 10 years of my life there, working on action films with the likes of Jet Li, Simon Yem, Lau Ga-fei, Lau Ga-liao, all these kind of top martial arts stars. You know what I mean? I ended up working with all of them in Hong Kong over the next, and Mark Houghton, you know, some Vincent Lin, Robin Shu, these guys, all these major stars that I'd grown up watching and watched on movies. I ended up working with them on movies in Hong Kong, co-starring and working alongside them. And now they're all pretty good friends of mine. So we've kept in touch over the years. So it's been an amazing journey. The martial arts has given me so much.
Talking about amazing journeys, because you're also a very well-traveled man.
Yeah.
And like, you know, traveling also opens our insights to new realities and new experiences. Today, what would you
That's
say
right.
are the greatest lessons you've learned in life from that journey?
You know what? I think the greatest lesson any man can learn is to be humble. It's humility, self-humility. Because I've learned that it doesn't matter what you have, it doesn't matter what you've been or where you've been or who you think you are. You know, God has a way of reminding us of exactly how mortal and how what kind of people we really are. Because this last year and a half has been the biggest education for me personally, with this whole COVID and this everything, because, there was a time about a year and a half ago where I felt to myself, okay, I'm riding the crest of a wave. I'm right here now. I'm doing really well and everything's fantastic. God's given me this great journey, put me on this great journey, and I'm just hitting those targets. And I was just looking up all the time. And then all of a sudden, the entire country closed down overnight. And nothing was happening. And there was no vision of any future. There was no what's going to happen in the industry? What's going to happen? And it suddenly made me realize just how vulnerable we really are and how we take so many things for granted, So for me, it made me think, it made me realize and reevaluate the things that are important in my life. My family, my children, my grandchildren, my loved ones, and really enjoying every day, because you never know. You never ever know. So I think the greatest lesson I've learned is in this last year, to be honest with you. I think the greatest lessons I've learned in this last year is to turn around and don't take life for granted.
And it's funny you should say that, because ever since COVID March last year, this
Yeah,
also has been one of the inspirational moments or periods of my
yeah,
life. And it's taught me to really appreciate the simple things of life. People talk about, oh, when is this going to the end? When is this going to
yeah,
end? But we don't think about how important it is to embrace the
yeah.
present moment. How important do you think it is to embrace the present moment?
I think it's very important. I think it's very important for us to embrace what's happening around us, because it makes us aware of what, how vulnerable we can be and how we've taken so much for granted and how we treat this planet. And more importantly, how we treat this planet as a human race. Because, so many people throwing plastics out and all that kind of stuff, and global warming and not looking after our fellow man and stuff like this, and all these cars with all this it's made me realize that this is a time, this is a message, it's like a sign. This thing may have, there's a lot of talk that this virus was man-made, and it could be man-made, created, or whatever. But the fact is, regardless whether it's man-made or whether it's an act of nature, it doesn't make any difference. This, to me, is a massive sign from God that says, hey, you know what? This is a time for you guys to turn around and take check. Take check of your life. Look at what you have around you. Look at what Mother Nature has created around you and embrace it. Take the time out to think, to look, to feel, to smell, to enjoy. Because I've been living in this apartment now for 2 years. And prior to the lockdown, I hadn't even realized that 500 yards from my house, I have a beautiful lake with swans and ducks. I didn't even know it was there. I've been living there a year. I didn't even know it was there until lockdown came. You know what I mean? I didn't even realize it was there until lockdown came. And I'd been living there a whole year. That just tells you how busy my life was. Because I was constantly in and out, traveling here and there, going to events, doing this, doing that, and living right across the road from a lake, a beautiful lake, a nice countryside walk. Never experienced it in a whole year. And it wasn't until I was forced to stay indoors that I realized, okay, let's go for a walk. And I realized there's a lake right there, So
So, Mr. Winston Ellis, it's so lovely to have you on today's show. For the
thank you.
benefit of all our listeners, just rounding off now, what current initiatives are you working on right now? And how do people reach you in case they want to get involved in any of your campaigns?
Well, I'm working on a TV show right now. We're working on a couple of things like that. One is a TV show that I want to work to help charities, actually. So I want to help make young people's dreams come true. And especially through this time of loss of COVID, through COVID, loss of life, and some people lost family members, fathers, parents, uncles, sisters, brothers, daughters. There's been a lot of loss, a lot of negativity. So I'm actually working with my colleague, Jamie Chambers, and also a young lady by the name of Joanna D. We're working on this project whereby we want to create a program whereby we can help give stuff back and bring some joy into people's lives again by making certain dreams come true. And we're working with a number of big businesses. I'm putting it all together at the moment. We're looking at wrapping up in June in LA with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Eddie Hall, Sylvester Stallone, Dwayne Johnson, and Jason Statham on the documentary that I was talking to you about earlier on. And then later on in the year, I started filming my first feature film, my first major feature film. So there's a lot going on right now, both on the charity front and on the business front. But most importantly, I'm looking forward to spending more time with my grandchildren, because, you know, watching those guys grow up and getting so big now, it's just, that's an amazing joy for me. That's the biggest joy for me, believe me. It's like watching them and seeing them. And now I've got 3 beautiful grandsons. You know what I mean? To carry on that name, it's like, yes.
Beautiful to have you. And on a very final note, what message do you have for all our listeners listening around the world today?
My message to everyone is, please do not take one single moment for granted. You know, life is a precious thing. It's a precious commodity. And don't think about your age. Don't think about your illness. Don't think about anything. That just think about living and experiencing and embracing what we have, you know, because at the end of the day, all of this has been a lesson. And if we focus on the dark side of that lesson, then all those dark energies will come. We have to focus on the light, focus on what is positive, and focus on what we can do next, our next part, our next journey, our next move, how we can help our fellow man, how we can help bring communities together again. You know, over this last year, we've seen so many things about Black Lives Matter and all kinds of different changes in the world. And I think it's time for the human race to realize that we are sharing this planet as one people. You know, not black, white, green, yellow, whatever color it may be, one people. We're sharing this planet. So let's do the very best we can as individuals to be able to embrace our fellow man.
Time for the human race to realize we're sharing one planet. You've heard it from
That's
Mr.
it.
Winston Judge Ellis. Always a pleasure to see you, and you always make us proud. And I look forward to chatting with you soon. And thank you for coming.
God bless you, Tony. Stay in touch, my friend. Stay in touch. God bless, brother.
Definitely will. Thank you.
Take care. All right. Bye-bye.